it's Lisa. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I usually do a scrapbook process page. I was doing them at least once a week, and this year, because of other things that have been going on, it's been at least a couple of times a month, but it has been several weeks since I've done a scrapbooking page. I've been doing some card making and had occasional videos. The reason why I haven't scrapbooked is we have had a loss in our family. My father passed away at the end of August. He had been in declining health for over 2 years, and the last several months have been particularly challenging. Scrapbooking is such a personal thing that I didn't feel like I could just pick back up where I left off, which was in the middle of a page of something my husband and I had been doing, a happy memory, and it just didn't feel quite right. So I've been doing a lot of card making, quite a few Christmas cards. I've made all my mom's Christmas cards. There was a video for that. I don't know whether it'll get released before this one or after this one, but and doing some other things, getting some stamp sets ready to sell, all those kinds of stuff that I didn't really have to think about how personal it was. I didn't have to work on journaling or anything like that. But finally, I did want to do a page, and I thought that I would do a page about my dad and as a memorial page. So that's what this video is about. And I did this differently than normal. I created the page without videotaping the process, but I'm going to share with you some of the elements of it because, again, it's pretty personal, and I just felt like it would be easier to get through that way. So this is the page. The photograph of me and my dad was taken last October, my parents' wedding anniversary. We made a trip to Asheville, and we're on our way home, and this was actually taken at a rest stop. But my husband took the photograph. It's a really good one. He does really great photos of people. I do not. So unfortunately, the rest of the people in my life suffer when I take the pictures because they're not that good. But he takes really good pictures, and I think this is a wonderful one of Daddy. And it's one I used at the funeral where you have all those pictures on the video thing they do. By the way, if there's anybody in your life you think you're ever going to have to do pictures for, start now accumulating those digital pictures in a folder on your computer or online or wherever you keep your pictures so that they are ready. I spent way too much time hunting photos that I knew I had of him, and I had a lot of stuff because of their 50th anniversary that was in one place, but the things that had happened in the intervening years, I had to hunt down pictures, and I didn't get nearly as polished a presentation because it took me so long to find the pictures. So go ahead and start a folder and have them ready. It's not a morbid thing to do. It's just something to be ready and prepared because I found myself very scattered that week. My mind was scattered. It was difficult to concentrate. I wasn't sleeping well, wasn't eating well, and it's the reaction your body has to grief that you just don't get things done like you might normally. So anyway, that's sort of a side note there. But this photo I thought was a really good photo, and I just had never scrapped this particular one, even though I'd done photos of the from that day. So I wanted to include it on the page, and I also wanted to include this, and this is what I'm going to share with you how I did in a video segment coming up. These flowers were ones that Mother and I had ordered for the funeral, and I brought one arrangement home with me, and his favorite colors were blue and yellow. So I took a photo with my camera of the flowers, and this is the size proportion that the camera saves photos in. I think it's like a 5:3 ratio or something. I haven't really measured it, but I just brought this into Photoshop Elements, and I didn't really need to do anything much to it. From there. But what I want to share with you is how I put this in Microsoft Word and then put the text over the top of it. And because you want to do something to your photo to make it softer and less a dimmer color, not as bright, so that your words will show up. The words are the eulogy that I did at the funeral because I wanted to say something personal about my dad. The minister did a great job of, he knew my parents, and of getting information from other members of the family and telling stories. He did a wonderful job with that, but I felt like nobody could capture my dad better than people who knew him. And I'd been to a service earlier in the year for another family where the son got up and talked about his father, and it was really moving. So I wanted to do that, and I got a lot of very good feedback from it. I did it mostly from memory. I did read the last couple of paragraphs, and it gets difficult to do that. But I wanted to preserve that somewhere. So that's in here on top of the photo of the flowers. What will be behind this is I have a photo of my dad and me when I was young that I need to print another copy of. I have a digital one, so I need to print a copy of that, and then I'm going to put some text here, some personal text, and so I'll have that on the page. Now, how I did this fold out is really simple. I just took a piece of cardstock. This was the first one I cut, and I decided it was a little too small. But I just took a piece of cardstock and I scored it, folded it over in half, and just glued one half to the background page and glued one half to the matted photo, and that creates an interactive page, so I could see this large element as well as seeing the photo on there at the same time. Now, what I'll probably do is just put this whole thing in a page protector, but you could trim this out of your page protector so that you could still open it. But again, this is pretty personal, so I'll probably just slip the whole thing in there, and then I'll pull it out as I want to. The other thing that I've done on this page that's a little bit different is I added a pocket on the back. This is a regular I think if I can find a ruler. Well, I can't find a ruler. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. I think this is a 6.5 by 9.5 inch envelope, and you could make your own pocket, of course, but I just had this envelope, cut the top off of it, and what this is the program from the funeral, and that little thing they give you at the funeral home that has the deceased's name and photograph and their obituary on it. So that information is in here. Of course, I have lots more copies of it, but I've learned that if I don't put memorabilia with my scrapbooks, it's liable to get lost, and I have yet to move since I started scrapbooking. But in here, well, not entirely, that's not entirely true. I haven't moved since I started serious scrapbooking with lots and lots of albums, but I suspect that in moves it's easy to lose things like that, so I wanted to make sure I kept a copy of it. And now in hindsight, I could have put it behind this. It would have been really good to have created a pocket and just put it here on the front, but I didn't think about that, and I just put it on the back. So that's a good place to save things like that, is to create a simple little pocket and put your information in on the back of your page. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go over to Microsoft Word and show you how I took the text and added the photo with it, I'm sorry, still a little scattered, I guess, to this, so that if you wanted to do that for whatever reason, whether it's a memorial page or any other page where you wanted to take a photograph and just add the text over the top, you can do that. I've brought up the document in Word that I want to add a photo behind, and I've got two photos here. One of them is going to be a very pale or slightly paler background. It's going to be lightened, and I did that in Photoshop Elements because I had the option to do that, to change the opacity. So we'll look at that one first, and then I'll show you how to do this to get a similar effect if you don't have Photoshop Elements. So I'm moving my cursor to the very beginning of the document and inserting a picture. Right. Now you can see that it's lighter, that it's kind of a faded look for this photo, but I need to get the words behind it. So I'm going to right click on it and choose Wrap Text, and I want to run my text behind the photo. So I'm just going to choose behind text, and that will put the text back behind the photograph. Now the text is wider than the photo because I have this in a larger print because I was reading this, or I was trying to do it as much without reading as possible, but I needed to be able to see these notes at the funeral, so I wanted the text really large so I didn't have to so it could be easy to focus on. So I'm going to select all the text. I don't need it that large here. And then I'm going to change my margins to fit the photo. Now I could have cropped the photo down, but I just went ahead and left the photo the size that it was in Photoshop Elements. I didn't change the size. So that adjusts the text. Now what I've done though, when I've changed that text, not all of it is going to print. So I need to select all of it and change the font size as well. So I'm going to drop that. I dropped it to an 11 and that made it even smaller than it needed to be. So I changed it to a 12. And that was the right size to fit inside my photo. You just have to experiment. And you can adjust the size of your photo. If your photo came in smaller, you can make it larger. Making it larger is a little bit dangerous because it might get pixelated. So when you're doing this kind of thing, when I take photos with my camera or when I take them with my phone, I use an option to keep the photos very large because I never know what I'm going to do with them. It takes up more space and I have to go out and delete some photos from time to time, but I want them big so that I can do things like this with them because I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with the photo. So I don't take photos that are going to end up being these teeny tiny things that people share on Facebook that you download and you can't do a thing with them. So I want something that's big that I can work with. So at this point I'm ready to send it to print. And that's what I did here, was went ahead and sent it to print just as it was here. Now the text comes out a little bit, it's a little bit hard to see down at the bottom of this photo, but it still works. Now let me show you another option if you didn't have this, the option in Photoshop Elements to change your photo and make it with a lower opacity. I'm going to delete the photo out and I'm going to insert the regular one. This is the one just like straight off my camera. Alright, I'm going to right click and wrap text again and put the text behind the photo, and you'll see as I scroll down it gets a lot harder to read because the photo is awfully bright. So options I have here is to right click on the photo and go to Format Picture. And within Word I can do a few things, like under photo corrections there are some options there I can adjust. That's mostly sharpening options, but picture color has some choices for lightening. There again, to change the color, the saturation, the tone, and to recolor. And then there's some really cool options you can do. You can make this like a black and white, and then it would be easy to see there as well. I'm going to put it back to normal and go to Artistic Effects. Artistic Effects also has some where there was kind of blurred out, and there was one I found down here that I really liked that made it kind of light and a slightly blurry that looked really good also. So you can experiment with those, and see this would have printed really nicely. So you can experiment with those, and again you're just on your photo, you're right clicking, going to Format Picture, and there's all kinds of different things. There's a picture color option. Well, let's see, I think we looked at several of these. So an Artistic Effects is where we ended up with. So you can just adjust these, and there is a transparency option here. Let's see, let's go back to Artistic Effects. I'm going to have to put it on something to adjust the transparency. Oh, I don't like that one. It won't let me adjust it on just the basic one. Where was the one I had that I liked? And then I can make that even lighter and go more and more transparent. So again, you can play with these, adjust, you know, your color and make it black and white. You can do it. You can do quite a few things in Word, but you can't do everything that you can do in something like Photoshop. So you just have to do it however you want to. But the main thing here is to bring your text up and insert your picture, right click on it and adjust your wrap text so that the text goes behind the photo, change margins on your photo or your page however you need to, and then you're ready to play with the look of the photo and to send it to print. And you can get some really nice looks with a photo behind your text. So after printing, I just trimmed the pages, leaving some of the white border, and then attached it to the background. The remaining embellishments are fairly simple since I had all these flowers on there and you know, kind of busy photographs. I didn't really want to add a lot of embellishments. I did consider adding this camera. One of the things that my dad liked to take pictures when he was younger, and he did movies, home movies when I was growing up some in the younger years, and those have not survived. But one of the things we uncovered a couple of years ago was this box of photographs that he had taken during the Korean War, and he had sent them home to his mother. And they weren't in battlefield kind of pictures. They were where he was stationed and people that he was there with. And I have a recording of him talking about the photos, and it's really neat. I'm always meant to have him do all of them, go through all of them. He went through about half the box and at one time, but I think I'd love to preserve, the photographs are beautifully preserved because they were stored in this cabinet and they hadn't been opened in years. And he wrote on the back on a lot of them to his mom what they were about. So, so I have all of those, and I would like to do a page on those, and I think that's where this little camera would come in handy. So anyway, this is my memorial page with a lot of journaling, a pocket for some of the things that you collect at a memorial or funeral, and then a place for more journaling and photographs if I want to put those in there. So thank you for joining me today for this page, and I've got, you know, more card videos, and hopefully we'll get back to some regular scrapbooking. Thanks again.